Some illnesses in dogs and cats can cause weakness, which could be seen as reduction in exercise. So they're not willing to exercise for as long as they normally would. They might not be using their legs normally, or they might be holding their head lower than they normally do. If you see these signs, you want to take note what's going on, how often it's happening, and also other vital signs and behavioral changes, and get your pet to a veterinarian for evaluation and let them know what you're seeing at home. Now, there are a few instances where the chances of a pet developing weakness might be higher, such as in pregnant animals. Pregnant dogs and cats have a higher need for some electrolytes like calcium, and so it's really important to ensure that they're on an appropriate diet for these situations or getting some supplementation. So you want to discuss this with your veterinarian in advance before there's any problems. Another situation where weakness could occur is in puppies and kittens that, especially in small breeds like Yorkshire Terriers and Chihuahuas, if they're not eating regularly, they're at risk for developing hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. If you have reason to suspect your pet has low blood sugar, you can try offering her some food or rubbing some maple syrup or corn syrup on her gums. You're going to want to take your pet to the veterinarian after, but take note of how did she respond after you gave her the food or the syrup. If she improved, there's a really good chance that this was caused by low blood sugar. Now, for diabetic animals, you want to remember that even though normally we're worried about high blood sugar, because if they're being treated with insulin, there is a risk of that dropping. And so you always want to be wary of weakness in diabetic pets. Other causes of weakness in dogs and cats could be from a muscle or neurologic disorder. Now, these tend to have a slow, more insidious onset and then become progressive. If you see these signs, again, take note of what changes you're seeing, note your pet's vital signs, and have them seen by a veterinarian. One of the more concerning causes for weakness in dogs and cats is an underlying heart disorder. Now, this can be caused by any number of things, but when you take your pet's vitals, you may notice that her heart rate is either much faster or much slower than normal, and her gum color may be pale pink to white. And again, these could be a sign that there's an underlying heart condition. You're going to want to keep your pet calm in this situation and transport her to a veterinarian. Now, sudden collapse is a severe form of weakness. And while it can be very scary, it's important if your pet collapses to try to determine if she's lost consciousness. If your pet has lost consciousness, you want to feel for a pulse. If you can't feel a pulse, you're going to want to start CPR efforts. If you can feel a pulse, or if your pet still is conscious or regains consciousness, you're going to want to take note of the heart rate and respiratory rate and 4 other things to observe. And those would be, what was she doing before the collapse event? What did the collapse event look like? How long did it last? And what was my pet doing after she regained consciousness, if that's the case? Take note of this information, transport your pet to a veterinarian as soon as possible, and relay that information to them.